We're fusing the fabulous Fabian on the free-to-play.
Just like the street lights lit this town like a
Hello everyone, Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and yes, I actually managed to get that intro done on the first take. I am so proud. That was awesome. So we are talking the Fabian Fusion, and I'm working on my free-to-play, so I figured I'd do a little bit of an account update here. Now, as of this moment, I am not in first place. Bone has been pushing me hard, and Bone has moved into first place. I don't know where he's gotten some of the extra points because I have been super busy with a brand new job, but he has moved into first place at the moment. I'm not going to say I don't think I can't overtake him. I think I could overtake him. There are things that I need to improve on this account, and there are things I'm certainly pushing, but because I'm pushing for the fusion, some of what I'm pushing is very limited by what time I can spend on it and how many gems I've got. Now you look here, I've got a ton of gems on my account right now. I saved up a ton. I was working on them through some of the missions. I got to level 60, which was absolutely amazing. I did that yesterday, and I have actually gotten through all of the fusion events so far. So let's talk a little bit about how I did them. First of all, Dragon was fairly easy. I'm farming Dragon hard 2 is what I ended up farming. I can mostly farm hard 6, but I do die once out of every 10 runs, which was more than I wanted to. So I was farming 3 because 3 is the right affinity for my team. 3 is magic, therefore I can use all of my champions that I use, which are either magic or force, and I can fuse through there pretty easily. So I managed to farm that, got some okay gear out of that, and that got me a bunch of the silver so I could do some of the other stuff. I actually managed the gear enhancement. Gear enhancement was actually kind of surprising, but I managed to do this one today without too much of a problem. I've got a couple more days, so I could certainly see if I can get that extra ancient shard. I won't complain if I do, but I'm probably not going to push too hard on this because I want to save some silver for the next gear enhancement or 2, because there should be 2 more of them I'm going to need to deal with. Now, there's a couple of tricks for this, and I'll show you one of them right away. So one of the tricks for this is to find gear that I want to roll up to plus 16, for example. That's currently plus 12 on champions I use. So we go to Geomancer right here. I like this helmet. I guess it's not particularly great. So maybe we lose a different example here. This is a great weapon. Triple accuracy, some speed here. So I'm going to upgrade this. And I'm going to upgrade this 1 level because I need to do my dailies anyway. So that didn't get me the next trigger. That did, or well, should. So that's good. So now this is plus 14. I will take this all the way to plus 15 and then stop, because getting it to plus 16 is where you get the absolute most points for this. So getting a bunch of gear up to plus 15 gives me some stat boosts. Obviously it doesn't give me the big stat boost because getting it to plus 16 is the big stat boost, but it gives me a little bit of stat boosts, but it also lets me kind of preload some of the silver ahead of time so that the only thing I need to do is from plus 15 to plus 16. Now that can be very expensive still, but it saves me from having to go from plus 12 all the way to plus 16. The other thing I can certainly do is if I go into some of the gear that I actually like, I've got a bunch of gear here that needs to get rolled up. So you see, I have not been particularly good about rolling up a lot of my gear because on an early game account, that's expensive. Now, some of the stuff will eventually get sold. I haven't cleansed out of all of this either. I did a little bit of a hard cleanse of some of the earlier stuff, but I could certainly trim a lot of this Days set, for example, more. Probably don't need a lot of this Frost set or this Frenzy set, for example. Some of these things are good pieces, and to be fair, there's a lot I'm willing to kind of tolerate as an okay off piece, but I do need to cleanse some of this stuff as well. But when I go and I find some of the gear that I do want to roll up, so for example, I believe if we get down here we go. So I don't have a lot of lethal anymore, but that's because I rolled some of this lethal up to plus 12 to see if it was any good, and I ended up actually getting lethal on Darendel. So Darendel is going to be a nuker. His crit damage absolutely still sucks right now because I do not have a crit damage amulet. I could certainly get better crit damage stuff. This particular gauntlet is really hard to replace with all of that speed on it as well. Although he's got so much extra crit rate, I don't necessarily need that, and I could probably lean into a crit damage gloves at some point in time on him once I get a decent set of crit damage gloves. But rolling some of this stuff up to plus 12 gives me a chance to see how good it is. So if you don't want to start immediately rolling something up to plus 12, well, maybe I'd go with this piece here, and I might take a look at it and say, well, let's just roll this to plus 4 and see what I hit. Well, I hit resistance, which is not something I'm particularly thrilled on. So on a late game account, I might absolutely just sell this. On this account, I'll probably hold on to this and maybe try this to +8. And if it double hits on resistance, then I'll probably, well, let's not get real. I'll probably still keep it until I don't need this crit rate anymore. But it's probably not the best piece. If it hits resistance again, it's probably a sell. But that's one of the other ways you can do too, is this is a good time to explore your gear, roll it up to +4, roll it up to +8, see if it's any good, and if you know it's worth selling because you didn't roll into stats you really want, then you start selling the piece, and that can save you some silver as well. Dungeon Divers is painful, but I managed to do it on this account. How did I manage to do it on this account? Well, fortunately, it was also a champ training tournament. And so I went absolutely hard into champ training in the campaign, because that's where this account needs to train champion. And that actually meant that Dungeon Divers and champ training made it super easy. So I don't know what I'm going to do with some of these other Dungeon Divers. They are going to be a lot harder, and I may have to just keep on diving in dungeons, or maybe I decide I'm going to continue to do some champ training, because I am going to have to train all of these extra chickens and all these extra champions to fuse into eventually Lord Fabian. I've managed to get both of these, which means I've got 4 of the Hitstrider booms, or born. So we look here, and I've got 4 of them. One of them, during the champion training, I managed to get him to 4 stars and ascended him and everything else like that. These 2 are 4 stars, and I'm slowly leveling them up in campaign. So basically, at the moment, since I'm not really pushing any other champion training because I'm done with that champion training and tournament and I don't want to expend my resources too thin, we are going to probably just level these guys up until they are max level in campaign with the dailies I need to do, and otherwise farm some dungeons and other stuff. But farming campaign got me a ton of silver. In fact, that's the other place where I got almost 10,000 worth of silver to be able to do the gear enhancement event, but that also got me the Dungeon Divers, and again, got me the champion training as well. And of course, I managed to train a champion, which was great for my account. Speaking of champion training, I have finally finished all of the missions that require me to ascend a specific type of champion. So I made my Cold Heart a 6-star, and I ascended her, and I was done with the rest of the battles afterwards there. So now I am at the Win 200 Classic Arena battles here. As you can see, I've actually got 20 of them done. So I suspect maybe by this next weekend or so, I will have Arbiter ready to pull. And honestly, I think I'm going to sit on Arbiter until the champion chase, because I can use her for some champion chase points. So as long as I can get her by next Friday, next Saturday, next Sunday, she'll be worth 600 actually champion chase points. So I should be able to do the entire champion chase without actually pulling a single shard, if that's how I have to do it. Meanwhile, we look at my shard situation, and my mystery shards have been growing finally. That's been good. I haven't been building a lot of champions, so I spent a couple days off of that waiting for this fusion, saving up for this fusion. I also have my ancient shards here. I have actually pulled 6 ancient shards. I pulled 3 for Necmo, and I pulled 3 yesterday for one of the champions. I can't remember which. Nothing super exciting. I got all rares, not a big deal. But I am saving these 2 sacred shards. One of them was from the monthly, and I think I got one from Clan Boss, which is absolutely amazing. This is 1,000 points for the Summon Rush. This Primal Shard, I believe, is 250 or 300 points towards the Summon Rush. That's going to be very helpful as well. Void Shards are worth about 100 and I can't remember if they're 120 or 180. Regardless, I can get most of the way there with the Void Shards as well, if not well beyond with the Void Shards. And I'm hoping that with all of these shards that I can pull during this Summon Rush, I will be very, very close to getting that epic, which will ease the pressure of me doing all kinds of stuff on this account. And then I won't have to pull any Ancient Shards, because Ancient Shards should be the 2x next week as well, and I would like to pull a ton of them on that 2x and get some really, really cool champions, some good epics to power up this account, maybe a good legendary or 2, and be really, really great shape for the home stretch. And this is one of the other things that you can do for this event. Fusing each of these champions is going to be 350 points for the champion chase. So I'm going to save 3 of these to fuse for the champion chase. So that is going to be over 1,000 points just with them. Plus I could probably fuse Broadmaw, so that's another 350 plus a couple more here. Plus I've got another 700 here, plus I've got another 100 with these 2 guys as well. We're almost at that 3,000 that I need to get, or at least I assume it's going to be 2,500, maybe 3,000 to get for that champion chase, which means I should be able to finish the champion chase without pulling a single shard. I'm probably still going to pull all of those ancients because it's going to be 2x ancients, and that makes sense for this account. With all the stuff I'm redeeming, I don't need to. And if I don't need to, that means I can use these shards for other events or doing other things if I need to. But overall, that has been my plan so far. I do need to secure myself in the spider dungeon to be able to do the spider dungeon, because my spider 20 team is not 100%, and I probably just need to finish my masteries on the other cold heart and then farm some spider until I can get a crit damage amulet or 2 for the Dark Elves, so I can give it to both one Cold Heart so she can hit a little bit harder, and Durandil, who's going to be a really good nuker now that he's especially in lethal once he gets that crit damage amulet on as well. I've got Ice Golem 20 solved, I have Fire Knight 25 solved, so Spider's really the only really big weakness as far as the dungeons are concerned. I have to deal with 2 more dungeon divers, but if I can get the epic, and to be fair, I'll know if I can get the epic before we actually get through the second dungeon divers, well then maybe I can avoid that dungeon diver and the other dungeon diver and maybe one of the gear enhancement events that's going to really test my silver. And I have one more event that I can skip, especially if I'm not going to be skipping the champion chase, because I can actually hit it with the way these champions and everything else is lined up on this account. So I am looking forward to getting Fabian on this account. I think he's going to make a huge difference. He'll help me in faction wars. He will help me in arena. I think I'll be able to use him for some of the Doom Tower floors that maybe I've gotten stuck on. I think it will help me in Centranos floors as well. I think he will unlock a ton of points on this account and help me try to push to be number 1 in the home stretch. So I'm seriously looking forward to Fabian, even if I don't make him a 6-star. I think at level 5, Fabian is still going to be absolutely amazing. So hopefully you can actually get him too. And you know, if you're struggling on your free-to-play, well, hopefully some of these tips for how I've been attacking the fusion on my free-to-play have been absolutely helpful. So appreciate all the support. You guys are absolutely amazing. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. There's a link down below where you can get a Zargala and you can get an Ugo and have yourself an amazing start to Raid Shadow Legends. That also supports me. So hit that link, start a new account, have some fun. Raid's a fun game. And until the next video, I'm Bront CatHerder.